Dark, disturbing ghost stories. The Smiling Man's Collection. Welcome, brave souls, to Vale of Dark Whispers, where nightmares take form and the darkness whispers your name. Tonight, we bring you a story that will chill you to your very core. A story of something that watches from the shadows, something that wears the faces of the innocent, something that smiles but not out of kindness. Settle in, turn down the lights, and listen closely. But be warned, once you hear about the Smiling Man, you might start seeing him too. And if you dare to walk deeper into the darkness with us, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss a new nightmare. Every Tuesday and Friday, another tale awaits you. But for now, let's begin. There's a man who watches from the dark corners of the world. He stands beneath flickering streetlights just outside bedroom windows, or motionless in the fog of an empty playground. His face is always the same, frozen in a smile so wide, so unnatural, that it looks like his skin might split. But that's just the mask he wears. His real face, no one has ever lived to describe it. Some say he comes for the lonely. Others say he chooses the ones no one will miss. But the truth is far worse. The Smiling Man doesn't just take children. He takes their faces, and he wears them. The Willis family had no choice but to move. A fresh start, they called it. A new town, a new home, and a new school for their son, Ethan. He was 8 years old with wide blue eyes and a head full of questions. The new house sat at the end of a quiet street, backed against a thick forest. It was old, creaky, and carried a strange smell of dust and something else, something stale. Ethan didn't like it, but his parents said it was their home now. The first night was quiet, except for the wind rattling the window panes. Ethan lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, when he first saw him. A tall figure standing beneath a street lamp outside. He had a long coat, his hands tucked into his pockets, and that smile. Wide, frozen, watching. Ethan blinked. The man didn't move. He just stood there, grinning. He pulled the blanket over his head and squeezed his eyes shut. When he looked again, the man was gone. The next few days were normal. His parents unpacked, his mom fussed over decorating, and Ethan started at his new school. But something felt wrong. At night, he heard whispers outside his window, software calling his name. Tap, tap, tap. A slow knock at the glass. But when he looked, no one was there. Only the street lamp flickering in the wind. Until one night, he saw the smile again. Closer this time. Not on the street, but at the edge of the yard. The man's head was tilted, his grin stretching impossibly wide. Ethan ran to his parents, his voice shaking, but they dismissed it as a bad dream. "There's no one there, sweetheart," his mother said, tucking him in. "You just have an active imagination." Ethan knew what he saw, and he knew the Smiling Man wasn't going anywhere. A week later, a boy from Ethan's school went missing. No signs of struggle, no forced entry, just an empty bed and a small porcelain mask lying where his head should have been. That night, Ethan dreamt of the Smiling Man. Only this time, he wasn't standing far away. He was in his room, watching, and when Ethan tried to scream, the man lifted a finger to his lips. Shh. The next morning, Ethan found something strange on his windowsill. A balloon. Not just any balloon, but an old, cracked, yellowed one, tied with a thin, fraying string. A message was scrawled on it in red ink. "You're next." He ran to his parents, shaking, but when they followed him back to his room, the balloon was gone. "Ethan," his dad said sternly, "you need to stop making up stories." "I'm not," Ethan cried. "He's real, he's coming for me." His mother sighed, kneeling beside him. "Sweetheart, we promise. Nothing is going to happen. We won't let anything hurt you. But that night, when Ethan looked out his window, the smiling man was standing on their front porch, waiting. That night, the power went out. Ethan's room was plunged into darkness. He fumbled for his flashlight, his breath coming in short, sharp gasps. Then came the sound, a wet, stretchy noise, like rubber being peeled away from flesh. And then footsteps, slow, deliberate, coming from the hallway. Ethan's door creaked open. A figure stood in the doorway, tall, looming, the smiling man. His face was wrong. His skin rippled, shifting as though something slithered beneath it. And then before Ethan could move, the smiling man lifted a long, pale finger to his lips. Shh. The room was suffocatingly silent. Ethan lay frozen in his bed, his breath coming in short, sharp gasps as the smiling man loomed over him. The air around the figure warped, rippling like heat rising from asphalt. His grin was wider now, stretched beyond human limits, exposing rows of jagged, unnatural teeth. Ethan tried to scream, but the sound died in his throat. The smiling man leaned closer, his cold, clammy fingers tracing Ethan's cheek. His skin pulsed and shifted as if something underneath was trying to push through. Shh, the smiling man whispered. It's your turn. Ethan felt something, a terrible, sickening pull, as if his very soul was being ripped from his body. His vision blurred, his mind twisted, and then darkness. When he opened his eyes, the smiling man was gone. But Ethan wasn't alone. He turned toward the mirror on his wall and his stomach lurched. The reflection staring back at him wasn't his own. His face, his skin was wrong. Stretched too tight, lips curling into an unnatural, frozen grin. He tried to move, but his body wasn't his to control anymore. Outside, a street lamp flickered, and in the house across the street, another child sat up in bed, rubbing their sleepy eyes. As a shadow loomed outside their window, the smiling man's collection had grown once more. Tell us, did you feel his presence? Did you hear the whispers? If you made it to the end of this story, you're braver than most. But beware. Sometimes stories have a way of bleeding into reality. If you enjoyed this tale and want more chilling horrors, make sure to like, subscribe, and share so we can keep bringing your darkest fears to life. New nightmares await you every Tuesday and Friday. Will you dare to return? Until then, sleep with one eye open, because you never know who's watching. This has been Veil of Dark Whispers, and we'll see you in the dark.